Hey there, guys and gals, all you hep cats, cool kittens, my friends and foes. Good morning, multiverse. This is a very special surprise edition of the Impossible podcast here on the League of Impossibilists Facebook page and Simulcast on my personal page, The Bamboozlist. And I am that guy, John Pica, the artist also known as The Shaman, The Bamboozlist, Big Daddy Cool, but you can call me Johnny. And joining me on the other side of the screen, from the other side of Middle Tennessee, via the magic of the interwebs, is a guy that I've known for a long, long time, a guy that I've really had a lot of respect for, but never spent a whole lot of time with outside of the cons. But Jeff Lester is a phenomenal costumer, cosplayer, and just all-around great human being. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you, John.
And Jeff, talk a little bit about your background in, do you consider yourself a costumer or a cosplayer or both?
I'll fall into any groove. As far as cosplaying, I really, I hear so many different definitions of that. Costuming, I think, would be more my line. I put on something. I don't become that character. I just represent. So I guess that's costuming. Cosplaying is more of you put on the costume and become the character.
That is the idea. Yes.
Yeah. I try not. I mean, now I'll give the characteristics. I mean, if that's what it calls for. But for the most part, like when I do my Stormtrooper, or if I'm doing the Darth Vader or a Ghostbuster, anything like that, I'm me. I try not to become an individual. Those characters are mostly, they are one of many. Now, when I do Jeff Bridges' Big Lebowski, the dude.
The dude.
I try to fall into the groove. I want to project and represent the character to a true meaning. I don't want to be the overthought intellectual in that costume. So yeah, I'll tend to kind of work that one a little bit. So I guess that would be a cosplay. My background goes back to probably, I was influenced first. I'll tell you the first costume I ever built and wore and really had pride in. In 1990, I put together the '89 Batman, Michael Keaton. Found the latex mask in Spencer Gifts out at Hickory Hall.
I remember that.
I'm like, man, I've got to have that mask. So I got it and built from there. My girlfriend, wife now, at the time helped me put that together, and it was not. I'll say it was 85%. It was the days before the internet, so you couldn't find things. The days before the big craft stores that you could go and find material. So I put that together, and I had an '87 Trans Am that was navy blue. So that was my Batmobile, and I would come cruising up in the whole Batman gear in the car, and my wife was our girlfriend at the time, was setting me up at birthday parties. Now, we didn't charge anything. We did this for fun, which is what we do now. We do it for fun, and we don't charge anybody. So I would roll up, and there would be like 15 kids out in the front yard, lollygagging around and having a big time, and Batman rolls up. And I also have to mention, I was a weightlifter at the time, so I was in pretty good shape. I fit the bill. And so that was my first costume. From there, flash forward to probably Celebration 2 in Indianapolis. Went up there, and all of these guys were wearing armor, and I was blown away. All the Star Wars costumes, and I was like, man, I've got to get into this. Well, nobody could nail down where they got their armor, because back then Lucasfilm turned the blind eye, and as long as you didn't advertise it, then he didn't drop the hammer on it. Turned out me and my brother were working a comic book show in Bellevue Mall, which is now done and gone.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, that I've known now since that very day, came walking by in a suit of armor, and I chased after him. Caught him in a little alcove where he could pull the helmet off, because it was totally taboo to do that. And I was like, okay, I got to know, where'd you get the costume? I've got to have one. And he said, got it from a guy in California. He said, there's a networking thing you have to do. And I was like, look, just give me a price. He went, $2,000. And I went, okay, time to start polishing pennies. Time to start saving up, do what I've got to do. A year later, me and my wife are surfing the internet, come across eBay. eBay is now in its infancy, but there was a guy in Arizona that had bought 75 of those armors and had put the helmets together, and he was making a fan film, and he had to sell off, I think, a dozen of them to finance his fan film, and I bought one. The helmet was already put together, so I was in good shape. Got that thing. My wife was furious. She goes, "How much did you spend on that?" I went, $735. More money than I'd ever spent on anything besides a car or a house. And it totally just blew her away. And so I was down in the garage working on this every night. Finally had it, and I would come up and I'd say, "How does it look?" And she goes, "I don't know what it's supposed to look like." And so I had a full-length mirror that I would have to trudge upstairs, look in, check it, go back down, resize. So that was my first official. Once I got it fitted, joined the 501st Legion. That was the first group affiliation I've ever had. From there, I just started putting costumes together of whatever I was interested in. I went from the Star Wars, I went into the superheroes, I've gone into Ghostbusters. Gosh, I've got a little bit of everything. I joined an Orville group last year, which was a whole lot of fun. So that's kind of my background. I'll touch on the Big Lebowski. I looked like that before I ever saw the movie. The movie was probably 10 years old before I ever saw it. And my younger brother came up to me one day and he goes, "Hey, have you ever seen a movie called The Big Lebowski?" And I went, "No, I kind of know it's got Jeff Bridges in it. It's about bowling." He goes, you really need to see this." And I was like, "Really?" And so the first time I watched it, it was really unusual. But it hit me. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I know why he wanted me to see this. The long hair, the goatee, the t-shirt, the lounge pants." I was a very comfortable person in that era. So I adapted that and said, "Okay, I'm going to go with that." So from 2008 to present, I have been putting together every costume change that Jeff Bridges has in that movie within a 95% margin. So I'm pretty proud of that.
We got some people joining us. If you're joining us and watching us, make sure you type a comment. Let us know that you're here. You could ask questions of Jeff. We're going to be talking about a couple of different topics as my guest this morning, but make sure you post a comment, give us a heart or a thumbs up. Share this with your friends and family because we're going to be talking about Jeff's daughter, Katie, and her battle with lymphoma. So we want to spread the news on this, everybody. But post a comment, let us know that you're here, and we'll address it throughout the broadcast. Now, Jeff, you mentioned the Big Lebowski. As I'm looking at you on screen, it occurs to me that not only could you do that Jeff Bridges character, but you could also do some of the other Jeff Bridges characters like Rooster Cogburn.
I have done that one.
Have you really?
Now, I attempted it. I cannot. I don't have the accurate costume for Rooster Cogburn. Now, if I were doing the John Wayne Rooster Cogburn, I've got it all. But I used to do a lot of Western. I was a brief member of the Single Action Shooter Society. I went through a cowboy phase. And
so did I.
Oh, man, I loved it. It was great until... And this is something I know you're going to talk on, or a topic we'll touch on here shortly, was the toxic fandom. That was my first experience with it, was at the Single Action Shooter Society. This is a group of people that are shooting enthusiasts. They used era-correct firearms, usually reproductions, obviously. I have all those. I have the replica of the Colt 45. I've got a replica of the Winchester 73, the Sharps rifle. You name it. I had that to go in. I had the holsters, the clothes, what I figured or what I thought, what I had been recommended to wear to one of these get-togethers. So I go down to Chattanooga, which is the closest, franchise, and just got picked apart. Oh my gosh! You want to talk about costume Nazis? These guys ripped me to shreds.
Well, let's hold on to that for just a minute.
Okay. But anyway, so they're the cowboy, but the Rooster Cogburn. So anyway, over to the other one that I have nailed down is Jeff Bridges' character in R.I.P.D. I
Yeah,
have got that one spot on. I've been looking. The only thing I've got that I got to find is a replica of the pistols that he had.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to make those, so I have been working with different people to try and find the 3D prints or the 3D, I guess, models, so they can print those out if possible. But that's the only thing holding me back on that is the pistols.
You could also do a couple of Kurt Russell characters, Santa Claus from the Christmas Chronicles.
That's one that I have been putting together. I did kind of a mosh-up for Christmas, this past Christmas, as a Christmas Chronicles Ghostbuster. I had a red jumpsuit, the Santa hat, the beard, and instead of having my name on the patch, it said Kringle.
Yeah.
Most parades will have a rule that says you can't have more than their one initial Santa Claus. I totally respect that. I would never want to mess the kids up on anything like that. But Kris Kringle, that's a totally different thing. And they would say, "Oh, Santa." I'm like, no, I'm Kris Kringle. But I had a lot of fun with that. I'm right now working on growing the beard back out again for Santa this year.
Yeah, when I first met you, you had a pretty hefty beard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was a couple of years ago. But well, I say a couple, maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. I trim the beard down for the Lebowski and get the goatee going and get it kind of short. Then sometimes I just let it go full blown and do the Santa Claus. This year, I have purchased numerous versions of the Santa suit, and that's kind of my goal this year is from say Thanksgiving to New Year's is be Santa Claus.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Lot of similarities between you and I in some of our background. I'm a Western firearms enthusiast, and I did a Wild West stunt show at a theme park, and used the real Colts but with blanks. I can't believe they let us do that, but that was back in the early 90s before things were like they are now.
Yeah.
But I learned how to do the spinning, all the tricks and all that. And had a lot of fun with that. And for years and years and years, I used to do a Magic Santa at November through Christmas. I don't do that very much anymore, but used to do that for a while. But let's go ahead and get into one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on here. I mentioned at the top of the show that we've known each other for a while, and I've always liked you and respected you. And I got news that you and your family are in the middle of a storm, and I wanted to help in any way that I could. All of us. I hate this phrase, unprecedented times, but we're going through a period right now where everyone is really worried about what the future is going to hold, with health and finances and societal issues. What are we going to look like after we get out of this COVID-19 crisis? You guys, in the middle of all of that, your daughter Katie is struggling with lymphoma.
Yes.
So, one, for all of our viewers, what is lymphoma?
Lymphoma is a type of cancer. It usually affects the lymph nodes. That would be under your arm and your neck, your groin area. They're throughout your body. Hers is a really unusual case in that it has affected the bones. It's lymphoma. It has been diagnosed as lymphoma, but it is in the bone. It started out as a tumor in her left knee. She is a very active young lady. She's 19 years old, just graduated high school last year. She is a cross-country runner. She's a tennis player. Like I said, very active, always eats well, stays in shape, tight as a banjo string. She's just a very active young lady. And as she was doing some of her running back in the fall, she would come in and say, my knee is just killing me. And I'm thinking, the quick fix is, well, you have like shin splints, or you've twisted it, you stepped wrong, you're running cross country, so you don't know where your foot's going to land. And so I told her, I said, maybe lay off of it for about a week and maybe see what that does. Well, within that week, she was like, it hurts so bad, I can't hardly stand up. So we went in for, just a routine doctor visit, had them look at it, see what it might be. We had bought her braces, compresses, the icy hots, things like that. And so the doctor said, this may be a little beyond me. We might need to do a PET scan. So we went in and we did the PET scan. We did X-rays. We did we did 4 different scans that totally escape me right now. But they came back and they said, we need to do a biopsy. And so they did 2 microscopic biopsies into her knee, and they came back and they said, we found traces of lymphoma. We also see that in the scans, and we need to get moving on this. So right after New Year's, we go in for the first chemotherapy treatment. This was something that we did not have time to digest. It went from pain at Christmas time to New Year's. Right after New Year's, it's like, we need to go now. We need to move now. So chemotherapy started in January, and we've been going through that. Her cocktail is so strong that they can only give it to her every 21 days, where most people go in for 2 to 4 hours every week. She goes in for 2 days, a Thursday and a Friday, for 6 to 8 hours each day, every 21 days for this cocktail. Now, it has done a tremendous amount. We found out just this week that she will have to go in for 2 more. We thought we were on the cusp of it, and we're going to be out of this storm. But the doctor has advised us, due to the scans that she saw, that we go for 2 more. These will be the same cocktail that she's been receiving in the 2-day spread that she does it in. But they have confidence that this 2 more should take care of it, and then they will decide whether they're going to follow up with either a concentrated radiation on the knee, or maybe just some type of medicine that she could take. It will really depend on the two future chemotherapies and the 2 scans or 3 scans that they're going to do on that knee on the follow up. So our hopes are high. The doctor has already said, look, it's just a matter of now of honing in and maintenancing this on the way out. But in that, me and my wife have always been, we're very conservative as far as financially conservative. We prepare for the future. We have insurance. We have what I consider good insurance. We've paid our deductible. We have taken care of the bills. But like I have told people, I said, the wolf is not at the door, but I know where the wolf is, and I can see him. And my goal is to try to keep him as far back as possible. And so at one point, a couple of weeks ago, we're looking over bills. We're looking over projections. We're talking to the doctor and the Vanderbilt payment plan that we have, and things are closing in. So I made the decision that I needed to ask for help. And the first thing that I tried to do on my own was do a patch run, which I'm a member of the Tennessee Ghostbusters. So, and Katie is too. Katie's a big Ghostbuster fan. And so we did the Fight Lymphoma patch right there on the Ghostbuster logo. That was a big success. 200 patches, and through the generosity of people opening their hearts and their pocketbooks, we raised $3,000 on that.
Wow.
It was incredible. And that was within 2 days. I have never seen anything just take off like that. So I spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday stuffing envelopes, and my wife Monday going to the post office and dropping things off for me. And we were just overwhelmed. But at the same time, a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, her name is Brandy. I won't give a last name. She contacted me that weekend, and she said, I feel for you. I want to help. And she was like, have you thought about a fundraiser, just, like a Facebook fundraiser? And I said, well, again, like I said, we try to not, we've been the help. We've always, since the the early 2000s. I've been that guy that I work charity events. I help them. I help people out. I donate. I've always been the helper. I've never had to ask for help, and so this was the time that that my turn rolled around that I had to ask for help. So I did, and surprisingly, we have raised, as of today, over $7,000 just on that, from people just opening up their hearts, seeing Katie, and donating whatever they can. And I'm thankful for the guy that donates 5 or 500. I'm as thankful for one as I am the other, because they've taken time and money out of their day to send to her to help. And here we are, like you say, in uncertain times. There's people out there who don't have a job. There's people out there that don't know if they're going to have one once the COVID-19 clears up, whenever or if it does. But yet people will still open up and send that money and help out a girl who's got a terrible plight going on right now. And it just overwhelms me.
Well, I tried to order one of your patches, but they were gone before I had the money.
John, I will make sure. I've got two in my hand right here that I will personally present to you the next time we are together.
That would be awesome.
And I will not forget that. But you come to me, and that'll be the first thing I put in your hand.
That'll be
awesome. I have done a second order. I was encouraged. Several friends of mine belong to patch trader groups. I do not. I'm a cherry picker. I see one I like, I'll buy it. But now charity patch, something like that, I buy those. But I cherry pick. I see something I like, I'll get it. But I'm not one of those completists that has to have every patch that comes out.
Right.
But I do love the patches. I love them. And so that was the reason I put that together. Is it's something popular. It's something that I can physically give someone for what they donate.
Yeah.
But me and my wife have ordered 200 more in the hopes that we have. I don't predict the same turnaround, but like I said, there are patch trader groups out there that got this way too late, and they're like, wait, I wanted one of these patches. And I'm like, I'm sorry, they're already gone. So for that benefit of both Katie and for the patch traders, we're doing 200 more, and we will have those in probably late next week.
When you have them in, make sure you let me know so that we can get the word out and get those moving again. And for that Facebook fundraiser, do you have a link for that you can send us so we can post it up?
I will send that to you. If you just want to do facebook.com / let me get that out of my mouth there, Jeff Lester 1. If you'll just look up Jeff Lester 1, you'll see my page. The patch is actually my background photo. The profile pic is me in my Ghostbuster outfit with the Ghostbuster logo behind me, so you can't miss it.
All right.
If you'll go there, you'll find that be first and foremost on my page.
Let me go ahead and type that as a comment right here. So facebook.com/Jeff Lester 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going
I did not pick that. It was, when Facebook first started out, you try to get your own name, and they're like, how about Jeff Lester 1? I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. So somebody else has the Jeff Lester without the 1, but I was the marker after him.
Luckily, I have such a unique name. I've got I've had 3 different variations of my real name, and my current one right now is the real John Pica. But the John Pica is what it is right now. But I've had, just John Pica, the real John Pica, and now it's just the. But anyway, the link is right there below. You can read that right there.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/Jeff Lester 1. Go there and check out that fundraiser. What else do you guys need besides, revenue, besides funding?
Good vibes, prayers, keep us in your thoughts. As far as the medicine, she doesn't have anything. She doesn't have to do any kind of physical therapy other than just very light yoga or very, very light calisthenics. The chemotherapy has made her bones, I won't say brittle, but not as strong as, say, you or I.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a chemotherapy cocktail, it's going to weaken the body overall. Well, that includes the bones. So, but we don't do any kind of physical therapy other than her own, like I said, her own yoga. As far as it goes, really what we're down to is paying bills. And those things, let me tell you, those things just float in every other day. And a lot of times we always do this. We never just lay down and go, well, we're just going to have to write a check on this. We go back and fight it. We turn it over to the doctor, and we'll call the doctor up and say, hey, we just got a bill for this. Can you guys not turn this into the insurance? And they'll say, well, we did. Well, turn it in again, see what happens. Keep throwing it back till you get the right underwriter that goes, yeah, we'll just take care of it. I've paid insurance through my work all my life, so it's not like the money's not there. and the thing is, we're one of those really good customers that insurances love because we don't go to the doctor that much. We're not that sick until this.
Yeah.
This is the first and only major situation that has ever hit us in our life together, me and Suzanne. The kids have never. Well, I'm not going to bring Wyatt up. That guy's a dumpster fire when it comes to accidents. Bless his heart. Okay, my son, yeah, he's pretty ragtag, but never anything like this. That was the kid that he'd bang his head or things like that on the playground. So we were always taking him into the ER for something. But again, he's married and gone now. He's off the policy. But my daughter, like I said, 19, she had just started college. She got in one semester of college, just bought a car. But I'll say this. Some people say, oh, wow, she's trying to float a car note. No. She paid cash for a car. That's how conservative we are. She saved her money up and she bought it. She had to leave her job. Get this, John. She had my dream job. She was basically the manager of a bowling alley. And I'm like, so guess who kept walking in her bowling alley?
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. But she worked at a bowling alley, bought her own car, had the first semester of college under her belt, and then this hit. So, she did make it through high school without all this problem, but now here she is trying to get her life the lift off. This is the step off point into real life, and she gets hit with one of the hardest things that anybody would have to deal with.
Yeah. So, but the outlook looks good. Yeah.
Yes. The outlook. I mean, they have always told us that this is something that she will get past. It's our only restraint is time. It's not a will she get over it? It's when will she get over it? It's when. We really hope that come Christmas that we don't ever have to deal with this again. I mean, that's my prayer.
That would be a huge, fast turnaround.
It's one of those where we know there's going to be follow-ups, but I'm looking at a daughter that could be active on her own, a full head of hair, and in shape again, and happy and with whatever life she chooses to take on. Excellent.
Well, I'm glad that we're able to help just by spreading the word and getting the news out there. But I wanted to talk about one other thing with you, and we'll come back to this before we leave, just to remind everyone. But
okay, thank you.
Over the last 18 months, I've been dealing with an issue in the Nashville fandom community with some toxic fans or being attacked by people who don't quite agree with me as either personally or politically or philosophically. I made the mistake of posting publicly #MeToo has gone too far, and the wolves descended on me, and I was ostracized. And in the words of one cosplayer, steampunk cosplayer. She told me that I was excommunicated from the Nashville community. Wow. And, and it was one of those things where it was very surreal to have these people who were friends, people who I'd traveled with, people who I'd stayed in hotel rooms with, people who had been over to my house for dinner, to see them turn their back on me. Well, first stab me in the back, turn on me, and go the other way and disavow my existence. I mean, one of the groups that I helped form has gone back to their Facebook page and completely erased any trace of me.
Wow.
Because I'm a monster. I'm a horrible person.
Oh, I was the guy who kicked dogs and eat babies. I was at one point with the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no. So that's where I wanted to get, because here I've been thinking I'm out on my own, and a mutual friend of ours, who I'll just say his name, Ed Gay, who he and Julie I absolutely adore.
Yeah, Ed and Julie. I've known them, gosh, for several years now, and Ed has always been, that guy to just be there for you.
Yeah, they are great people, and Julie. The
lovely Julie. You can't. If there's anybody out there that does not like Julie, then something's wrong with you.
Well, you know what's really funny about that? Julie, I thought, hated my guts. And I don't know why. Just she was very intimidating to me, and always polite, but I thought, man, this she just does not like me. But then out of the blue, she sends me this email and says, hey, if you're ever looking for someone to join you at comic conventions and help you out, I would love to do that. Nice. And so for about a year, she traveled, she and Ed went with me to a lot of conventions, and she would be my booth mate. And when I was off doing panels or performances, she would run the booth. Nice. And she would never let me pay her, which drove me nuts because I like to pay people who work with me when I can. And Blake Wilson, who is maybe still watching, he's the same way. He won't let me pay him, and it drives me insane. But I got to know Julie and Ed really well, and Ed reached out to me and said, hey, listen, you might want to have a chat with Jeff. Do you know Jeff? And I was like, yeah, I know Jeff. And he's like, he went through something similar, and it might be an interesting podcast to talk to him about it. So we hooked up. And so I just wanted you to share your story a little bit about your experience with dealing with toxic fandom and overcoming it. And as we go, some people will probably post questions, and as they pop up, I'll show them on the screen, and we can address them as we go.
Okay. I'll say that my first experience with fan toxicity was going back to the Single Action Shooter Society. I showed up at my first and last meeting with them. I put together what I thought was authentic, and I'm not green on that. I know what is authentic and what's not. I knew how to identify the clothes. What I ran into with them was that they had kind of a herd mentality in that you bought from within. You spent your money through their people, not through the brand names, so Walmart and things like that. I had bought things that, I bought it off the rack, so to speak, and that offended them. They would rather you buy from them. So when I showed up for this thing, they would come up, and at first it was polite. Like, oh, where'd you get your shirt? I'm like, well, I ordered this from a Western Emporium. It's a Walmart, and they're like, well, those are nice, but, and that's when they would go into the pitch. You really need to talk to this guy. It's like, oh, so the $60 shirt I'm wearing is not good, but the one that this guy makes for $120 that looks exactly like it, is the one that I'm supposed to be wearing. And they're like, yeah, okay. Before the day was done, I felt it's so inferior that I just packed up and left. I'm like, you know what? I don't belong to this group. I can't afford it. So packed up, came home. Now,
and you were going there not because you were interesting. I mean, you were doing. I wanted
to just be a part. I just wanted to have fun.
Yeah, and you were into the shooting, right?
Yeah, I was into the shooting. To me, it was more about shooting the guns, target shooting, the time shooting, trick shooting, things like that. I'll play by the rules. I'll wear the clothes. To me, it's clothes don't make the man. It's what you do. And
right.
So that was my angle there. And so I left there feeling inferior and thought, well, this obviously my dream of being the modern day cowboy is just not going to happen. So came home and was telling my brother and my wife about it, and my brother was like, well, we're going to Dragon Con. Why don't we just go as cowboys and we'll just we'll deal with it there. We'll take it to a cosplay level versus a shooter's level. And so that's what we did. We put together the John Wayne Cavalry outfits. If you've ever seen, she wore a yellow ribbon. That's what we put together. And lo and behold, we walk into Atlanta as Indian fighters, and everybody was like, well, you got a lot of guts showing up dressed like a Yankee. And it's like, oh, dear God. So there again, that just kind of exploded. It's like, well, we'll just keep this on the home front. We'll keep this out of the con. So that was the first and last of the cowboys that showed up at any of the cons. Going forward in the 501st Legion, I will tell you this, my experience with the Legion is that there are some absolutely wonderful people in that organization, more so than the toxic ones. The toxic people are generally the egos that have to be inflated. In my opinion, this is my opinion, are the egos that have to be inflated. And if there's not someone there inflating them, then they have to drive down other people. Now, to me, it's hard for anybody to have an ego if we're all standing there in the exact same white armor. How do you inflate your ego if you look like everybody else? There's always that guy that has to do something special. There's always that guy that has to be the line leader. You remember in the first grade when the teacher would say, okay, today you're leading the line. There's that one guy that says, I've got to be the line leader every day. And if I'm not the line leader, then I'm nothing. And, I have to inflate that. There's always the guy that's in there that no matter what you bring to the table, he's going to shoot it down. No matter how good it is, he's going to say, well, it could be better. And I'm the guy. I've always been the devil's advocate. All right, where's yours? Show me yours so I'll know what to do. And they usually can't present that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Until you can show me one better, I'm pretty happy with what I have. My experience started, and I can give you the date that it kicked off, March 17th, 2004. The Atlanta St. Patrick's Day Parade. There was an after party, about 15, 16 guys in a hotel room. We came up with an idea that we were going to do to have our own little independent stormtrooper group. Not anything that would go against the Legion. In fact, it would be to boost it. It was kind of a support group, if anything. There's not someone there in. Oh, am I? Somebody?
No, I was just sharing the video, and so the sound was on.
But anyway, from there, there's always that one person that wants to join the group, but make an exception for. I'd like to join your group, but I want to do this. It's like, well, no, we actually have parameters that we're going to follow. Just like the Legion, there's rules. And so that started putting a bad taste in people's mouth when they would be like, well, I want to join your group, but I want to be different. And it's like, no, the group is what's different. Joining the group, you look like everybody in the group, and then the whole group is specific. And so people would get kind of upset at that. It's like, well, it's not even canon to the movie. It's like, no, it's not supposed to be. So that kind of kicked it off. That's where I started feeling some of the toxicness. Then we had, again, one of those guys. There's also that ex-military guy that joins the pretend army and wants to turn it into the real Army. I am not a military guy. I totally respect the soldiers in our military, any branch. Those guys have my utmost respect. Thank you for your service. Thank God you guys are there for us. But I'm not that guy. I'm a guy that puts on a costume and has fun, and that's pretty much the mantra. Put it on, have fun, no matter what it is. So this guy wanted it to be the military. I'm not a military. I'm not officer material. So when we would go and do an event in the after party being the key word there, yeah, I'll have a beer. I don't get blind drunk at these things, but I'll have a beer. I enjoy myself. I'll have a burger. I'll talk a little smack with the guys. We have a little fun, and that just did not ring out, like he wanted it to. One thing led to another, and I was that guy that would do a birthday party. The Legion's big thing is, we don't do birthday parties. I'm like, there's a kid. The kid wants a stormtrooper at his birthday party. What's the hurt? They contact me. Hey, man, you got Star Wars costumes? Yeah. Would you show up at my kid's birthday? Absolutely. Grab a buddy. 2 stormtroopers show up. The kid has a blast. We're there 15, 20 minutes. We leave. I slowly start putting together a Darth Vader costume. Now, my Darth Vader costume is not spot on by any means. It is an kind of a pish posh of all the movies. I've got a New Hope helmet. I've got Empire gloves. I've got Revenge of the Sith chest box. But to the layman, the layman Star Wars fan, they look at it and they go, it's just Darth Vader. Okay, yeah. Good. So I start showing up in that, and somebody says, hey, you should get that approved by the Legion. I'm like, I'm already in the Legion. I don't really need to get any deeper. And I said, no, I'm not going to get it approved. I said, I built it for me to have fun in. This is my fun costume. And I would show up at different events. Well, the Darth Vader costume, for those that don't know, it's very hot, very heavy. It is very taxing on the body. But I had a blast in it. And I was showing up at just any type of street festival, anything that just opened the doors for somebody to wear a costume. And I was getting a little blowback from that. I was at a con in Knoxville, not going to mention the name. A guy was there. No, I take that back. It wasn't Knoxville. I'm sorry, Chattanooga. So that may pinpoint it now. But anyway, I was at a con in Chattanooga. There was a fellow Legionnaire that was there that I had met maybe twice. I had very few words with when we talked, and said I saw him at our Legion table and asked him, hey, you going to wear your Darth Vader this weekend at the con? He's like, no, I'm working the table, so I'm not going to wear mine. Well, to me, that was an open door. I'm one of those two that if I've got a specific costume and there's someone who has one that's 10 times better than mine, I really don't want to show up and be that shadow. I don't want to steal that love. I don't want to deflate that ego. I'm not going to be that guy. But hey, if you're not going to wear yours, I am going to wear mine. So I went back to my hotel room, put mine on, and strolled in. And evidently, this just infuriated this guy. So one thing led to another, and he was determined to humiliate me in some way. And I was not there to cause a problem, but I know what a poked bear is, and I was a poked bear. So it's like, I'll play your game, but I will turn the tables. And so I turned the tables on him, and it made him mad. I'll say this, it made him even madder. And it kind of humiliated him. But again, I had a good time, and I was just there to have a good time. And he was mad about it and wanted the Legion to do something about it. And they're like, well, he wasn't there under the guise of the Legion. He was there as a ticket holder. And that seemed to be the big thing, is somebody constantly wanted to bring up charges on something. Events that would happen that were not specific Legion events, and I would show up, just be there in whatever capacity I wanted to be. And I was going against somebody else's grain. Basically, I wasn't in lockstep with what the administration, that's a strong word, administration
the authority.
the authority of the garrison or the Legion. And pretty soon I became, that guy that they're like, oh, don't hang out with Jeff. He's a terrible person. He doesn't follow the rules. He doesn't respect the Legion. Well, I respect the Legion completely. I think that's a wonderful organization. I encourage anyone that wants to get into Star Wars costuming to go to them first and seek out any kind of help and advice that they can give, because those guys know that you have to take those costumes to the top notch. But anyway, so over time, I became kind of made it a game where if I had at one point gotten so frustrated that I took retirement, and I said, I'm just going to retire. I'm just going to do my own thing, and they still wouldn't let it go. I could show up at an event that I had. Well, I'll tell you about one event that I hosted that totally blew up and just totally destroyed their whole thought process. But I would go to these little street fairs, or I would go to the conventions, or just anywhere that they would welcome a costume. I would put on whatever I wanted, mostly the Darth Vader. That was the new one for me. And they were just could not stand it that I would show up somewhere. And at one point we had events that were popping up where nobody wanted to wear their Darth Vader. And somebody in the Legion would go, hey, Jeff, can you just show up and be the Vader? You don't have to be, part of the Legion, but if you'll show up and be their Vader. And I'm sure. This guy from Chattanooga drove one Saturday morning, 2.5 hours to Nashville, to beat me out. And I had already called the lady and told her, I said, hey, the Legion has asked me, since I'm in retirement and my costume is not approved, if I would stand down and not show up at your event. And I said, I'll abide by that. And so, because they had promised people a Darth Vader, this guy drove 2.5 hours, and he was furious about it and wanted to lay all the blame on me. I'm like, dude, you are the one that said we'd rather you not be there. And I said, okay, fine. The event that I hosted, there was a group of us that had kind of gotten tired of the fighting the authority in the garrison. And we decided we were going to do Star Trek costumes. Not for any other reason than we wanted to do them. There was no agenda there. And so I hosted a costume building party for the 7 people that were going to be involved in this project. And someone decided that they would post that as a public event on our garrison forum. And, people calling me up or texting me or emailing me going, hey, what's the directions to your house? I'm like, why do you want to come to my house? Well, we hear you're hosting an event. I'm like, no, I'm not hosting any kind of Star Wars event. They're like, you're not? I went, no. They said, we heard you're doing a costume build. I said, yeah, for Star Trek. One guy found his way in. So we had one more guest than we anticipated, but it was one of those where, somebody was like, yeah, we'll let Jeff take the fall on this. It got to the point where they were constantly looking for a reason to, and when I say bring up charges on a Legion level, meaning, something to have me kicked out. I already taken retirement. It's like, guys, I've left. I've give you what you want. I'm not going to, I don't read your boards. I don't go to your events. However, I will pull from your trash can. That was happening. We had, on their forum, they have a list of events, and things will, oh shoot.
Uh-oh. Oh, we were just getting to the juicy part, and his stream froze up. So those of you, while we're waiting for Jeff's connection to restore, those of you watching, we're chatting with Jeff Lester of the 501st and Tennessee Ghostbusters. And as Robert D. also just typed, love your dude. He does the dude from Big Lebowski. And had Jeff on to talk a little bit about toxic fandom. But the primary reason I wanted him to be on was because they are in the middle of a fundraiser for his daughter's lymphoma treatment. And any of you watching would love for you to post a comment or a question for Jeff. Hopefully he'll be back. We just lost his connection. I love the internet until it doesn't work. And right now, his internet does not seem to be working. And now all of a sudden, I've got hiccups. It's one of those days. It's one of those days. But glad you guys are watching. We've had Robert in and Joe and Blake and a few others. Let's see if Jeff is going to connect with me. We may be we may be out of luck here. I'm going to text him real quick, see if he can join us back. We're doing this special this Saturday morning here on the Impossibilist page and the Bamboozlist page. And if you like what you've seen, and if you want to help Jeff, we recommend that you share this out to your friends and your network. Get the word out. I posted the link to the fundraiser. I'll put this on the screen again. Where to go? Right here. You can see that link. And Jeff is rejoining us. We're going to add him back.
Man.
Jeff, there you are.
Man, talk about bad timing. The phone died. Thought I could work wireless today, but I've got it plugged in. I'm powered up. I'm good to go now. I apologize that. Let me pick up where I left off. So anyway,
you had left off with you don't mind stealing from their trash can.
Exactly. It was one of those where I still had a friend that was that could read their Legion boards, and again, I'm going to admit I'm no angel. I am no angel in this. If they were going to hate me, I was going to give them a reason. So he would come up and he goes, "Hey," he says, "Hey, there's an event that's going on over in this area. Nobody signed up for it, and it's coming up on like the 2-week mark. This thing is going to happen in like 2 weeks." He goes, "Do you want to contact them and see if they've been contacted, see if anybody's gotten in touch with them?" So I'd call them and I'd go, "Hey, I'm Jeff. I used to be with the Legion. I still have all the costumes, still follow all the rules. Do you still want Star Wars costumers or cosplayers to show up to your event?" "Oh yes, nobody's ever got back with me." And I'm like, "Well, I can go ahead and guarantee you a Darth Vader, a Stormtrooper, and a miscellaneous. I can guarantee you 3 because I have 2 teenage bodies at home that I'll put costumes on." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that'd be 3's all we need. That'd be great." So, I'd go to my kids and go, "Okay, guys, I need you this particular Saturday to go with me and let's put on some costumes." So we would do that. We'd also have some other guys, I'd contact them and go, "Hey, look, I've secured this event. Nobody else in the Legion's going to it. We can go do it." What put it over the top was one that I didn't even anticipate. It was a celebrity basketball game in Dixon, Tennessee. Now, this is 15 minutes from my house. And nobody in the Legion, nobody in the garrison had touched it. And this guy that was running the show had already advertised that he was going to have Star Wars characters there. And he had come to his desperate hour. This was like 4 days before the event. And he contacted a mutual friend of ours. He did not know me, but we did have a mutual friend. And he goes, "Man," he goes, "you don't know anybody that's got Star Wars costumes." He goes, "Yeah, let me give a guy a call." So I get a call in the middle of the day. He's like, "Hey man, you still got all your Star Wars costumes, don't you?" I went, "Oh yeah, I got a closet full." He's like, "Man," he says, "I've got a friend of mine that's looking for some Star Wars costumes at a celebrity basketball game." I went, "Well, where is it?" And he goes, "Dixon." And he told me where it was. And I said, "Oh man, 15 minutes from the house." He goes, "Do you think you could handle that for this guy? I'll call him back and put him in touch with you." I went, "Yeah, tell him I'll help him out." So he called me and he says, "Look," he says, I contacted your garrison like weeks ago." And he said, "Nobody will contact me back. I contacted him again, I got no response." And he said, I need to do something because I've already advertised." And I said, "I'm your guy. I'll be there." I said, "But here's what I want you to do. I want you to email them one more time and tell them that if they don't respond within 24 hours, that you're going to have to take a new approach, and that you just got to know something." He emailed them while we were talking, and the next day, literally to the minute, he called me. He goes, "Okay, I got no response. And he goes, if you can help me out, I would be much appreciated. I carried about 10 people with me to this event, and we had a grand time. We did this for the next 3 years. We had this event secured, just individuals showing up and doing Star Wars costumes. Well, the Garrison Authority, to keep it mild, lost their poo. And, you stole our event. And I'm like, I dug out of your trash can. That's the way I put it. And so, again, we would have this, I had my one mole that was in there going, hey, here's one that's happening this weekend. Nobody's touched it. Do you want it? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go do that. So we would all get together, and I'd contact them and say, hey, have you been given any kind of response from the 501st Legion? And they're like, no, we asked and never got a response. And I said, well, I tell you what, I'm not with the Legion, but I've got grade A Star Wars costumes, and I've got maybe 5-6 people that can show up. And they're like, bring them, just bring them. They don't care what the organization is. They just want what they're asking for, which was Star Wars people. Yeah. So I became the monster. I became the villain. I was, I had a spade, tail, and horns. And during this time, I met Ed and Julie. Now, Ed and Julie had been warned, oh, you got to watch out for Jeff. This guy is he's evil incarnate. And I trooped with Ed and Julie at a little event in the village down in Vanderbilt. And we parked side by side, got dressed side by side, talked, became friends, hit it off. And Ed was like, this guy's not a monster. He's not the evil guy that everybody's been making him out to be. We just had a good time. So we started communicating, and Ed and Julie, and became fast friends. And from there, Ed was like, you really should come out of retirement, get back in the Legion. He goes, we need more people that have kind of your attitude of, we just want to go and enjoy it and give the benefit to the people. And I was like, yeah, that's really all I ever want to do, is just have fun, but I want other people to have fun while I'm having fun. So they went through this big trial by fire where I got to, basically it was one of those where they opened the forum where everybody could say, here, say anything bad about Jeff you want to. He won't say anything back, and we'll let him back in. So everybody got to throw their stone. And the next thing you know, I'm back in the Legion. Here I am a couple of years later, and got nominated to be the CO. And lo and behold, I got it. I didn't get it the way I wanted to. I always wanted to. I admire competition when it comes to that. Let the people choose who they want. I'm that guy whose name was just up on the board and was the only one up there. And so I got it by default. I don't like that. I've always wanted to be that guy that if one name was hanging up there, it's like, I'll run against you just to show opposition. And yeah, they'll elect you, but at least they'll have a choice. And, I'm one that speaks my mind. So I would, somebody would ask a question, and they do a little Q&A before the election. So they kind of get to know their people they're going to elect or vote for. And, I'm a straight shooter, and, nobody liked that. So they would always elect. It's a popularity contest anyway. But anyway, the year I won, last year, 2019, I thought we had a good year. It went very smooth. I kind of stayed in the background and just, it's like being a manager. Your manager doesn't have to be the spokesman. It doesn't have to be the figurehead. It doesn't have to be the face. They are a decision-making body. And that's the way I kept it, is stay in the background, talk to the garrison, tell them what's going on. Just be honest. I said there wasn't much going on. You promote the events. You get people there. If you can't get somebody there, you let the venue know, hey, look, nobody has any interest, so we're sorry, we can't do that. I'm big on communication. So I looked at it as a very smooth year. I also wanted the members to celebrate. It's like, celebrate yourself. You're doing a tremendous job out there. You're doing this job for other people. You need something to celebrate yourself. So we would have picnics. I hosted a picnic out in the park for the garrison. Me and Adam Heenan, who was my CO, We footed the bill on that. We paid for the burgers, the hot dogs, the drinks, everything, and said, just come by and get something. Either bring your family, friends, whatever you want to do. We got enough for everybody. And we had an absolute wonderful time. So hopefully proving that I wasn't the monster that I've been made out to be. I know there's still people that have their minds made up on it. They always will. I don't have a problem with people not liking me. I don't lose. People say, well, how do you sleep? It's like usually on my side, snoring the whole time. But I still have fun with it. I enjoy the Star Wars costumes. Katie, when she was 16, I'm switching gears here. So just to, still on the same topic, but got Katie involved in the Tennessee Ghostbusters when the 2016 Ghostbuster movie came out. It was all girls, so it gave legitimacy for her to put on a Ghostbuster outfit. Me and her had a blast. We took the little CRV that her mother had discarded, and we put that together as our little Ecto, and that was her high school car. She found the fan hate there. There were people that were jealous that she had something that just because it had a bunch of stickers on it, that they decided they were going to hate on her. And I said, you can't do that. I said, there's always going to be jealousy. And I said, that's the number one reason that people will not like you is because you have something they don't, or because you were a little bit more creative than they were. So she got a taste of it. But inside the Ghostbusters, that's been a good group. I stay away from any kind of toxicity. I stay away from any of the gossip. I don't want to participate in that. I know that there's members in every group that's going to find fault with other people. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that says, hey, you know what? Let's just go have some fun. If there's somebody that shows up at the event or con or gathering that we're at, and one or two people, maybe more, have a problem with that person, well, then just keep your distance. It's that simple. The venues are too big for one to say, well, that's it, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And I learned that through my own experience is that if they don't want me, going back to the Legion, if they didn't want me in the Legion, it's like, you know what, guys, I'll give you what you want, but I'm still going to be out there having some fun. I'm still going to put those Star Wars costumes on. I'm still going to go out and have some fun. That's what I got into it for. As far as the organization, I can take it or leave it. The organization, the benefit of the organization was so that I would know a when and a where. But I can find that out anywhere now. The internet's a big place. So
yeah.
But as far as my being the most hated man in the Legion, I was there for a while. I was contacted by the CO of the Legion. Hey man, you know what you're doing? When I got out, I was very bitter. Sold off a lot of things that they didn't want me to sell, and I admit that was the wrong thing to do. But I had them, I bought them, I didn't want them, and I'd even put out there before I retired the first time. Told them, hey, I've got all these. If you guys want them, I don't want to trade. I just want to sell them. Buy them from me. That went for a little while, but nobody, no takers, and it wasn't like they were astronomical prices. They were the competitive going price. No takers. So then when I left, of course, they cut me from cut the access. So I went to eBay. Buddy made big money, bought a big screen TV and put tires on my car. But again, probably a bad decision. But I'll say this, and I reiterate what I said before. If they were not going to like me for a reason, I was going to give them one, and did. But hopefully I have made amends with the majority of that group. Again, I've always respected them in that it is the Star Wars group to go to if you want to become a member and get a great costume. Those are the people that go to for advice. I have, like I said, I recently joined the Ghostbusters back in 2016 and have had fun every day. I have not had a bad event. I've enjoyed it the whole time. And yeah, I know you and I had talked earlier about the differences with some of the people that you had talked to and been friends with. And sometimes people will turn on a dime on you. They'll, they hear your political view or they hear your opinion on something, and all of a sudden you're a monster.
Yeah.
I laugh at the people who say that they're in the party of tolerance, but they won't tolerate it. They won't tolerate you unless you agree with them. And so it's kind of a contradictory thing there. My thing is, yes, I have an opinion. I don't air it or wear it or flaunt it openly, but if asked, I will answer. It's not one of those where I try to push it on anybody. When I am involved in a group event, I'm that go along to get along. If they all say, "Hey, let's go for pizza afterward," I'm not the guy going, "Well, really, I'm going for a burger." So it's like, no, I'll do pizza. That's fine. I feel that sometimes that's just the best way to go to a point. There's a line. But what happened with me in the Legion was I would stop short of that line when everybody else is running over it. I would stop short and go, "No, that's not what I'm going to do. I don't agree with that," or I don't feel that that's something that's for me. And so I would stop short, and sometimes I would go to the left, go to the right, but I wouldn't go across that line. It's not saying that line was a bad thing. It's just not. It's not the direction I wanted to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I experienced was, not only did I not have the right viewpoints, I didn't have the right friends. I was associating with the wrong people and participating in the wrong events. And, a lot of people will say, well, no, we never tell anyone who they can or can't associate with or what events they can or cannot do. But you know as well as I do.
Oh yeah. You show up at the wrong event, or you show up with the wrong person, or even if you're standing off to the side talking to them, you're judged and judged harshly, very harshly. Like I said, I do what I feel I need to do. I do what I want to do. I try to stay out of any of the gossip. I try to stay out of any of the drama. The last thing I want is to have an enjoyable hobby that gets dramatic. I'm in this for the fun. I have a job that gets dramatic. I'm glad when I come home from that. I don't want to go back into it and not be getting paid. I go into something because I thoroughly enjoy it, and I hate it that people will judge me. I don't judge others. There's people that I associate with in the costuming group that I disagree, but I don't disagree to the point that I could force an emotion such as hate on that person.
Yeah. I
just disagree. And I think disagreement is a good thing. That shows we're not all in a flock of sheep. For one person to go, you know what, that's just not for me. It's like, you know what, I respect that. If that's not for you, then by all means, don't do it. But if you have that one person that goes, hey, does anybody want to go to this event? I'm going to it. And, let's say you have the majority that says, no, we're not doing that. It's like, well, I'm going to be there, and I'll be that guy. I'm the first one to go, hey, man, there's an event going on down here. We ought to go to this. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be there, and I'll go have a good time. I never shy from a good time.
I've had people that who have decided not to attend a convention because I'm going to be there.
And that's, I hate to interrupt, but that's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah.
To pull that phrase out. Again, if that's what they choose, it's their choice. It's their ticket. It's if they feel so strongly about something, then okay, I'll support you on that. You feel strongly about that, and you're not going to show up. You're going to sit at home and not be a part. And again, I'm not digging on anybody, but if that's the decision they've made, I'll respect that decision. Now, on the flip side of the coin, don't judge me because I am there.
Yeah.
If I come in, it's like, hey, well, Jeff went to that. Yeah, because he wanted to have a good time. I'm not going. I'll say this: if there's somebody at that con that, let's say, I disagree with strongly to the point that I'd rather not talk to that person, but I still go to that con, it's not because I'm going looking to kick up the dust. It's because I want to go. That's my ulterior motive for being anywhere, is because I want to be there.
Yeah.
I try never to go anywhere with some type of underlying agenda. If it is, then it's I'm going to a con dressed as a Ghostbuster, but I'm going to buy a Star Wars toy. That's my underlying agenda, if that's being a bad guy. But no, I never go with and I know people who will go to these events. I used to have to talk to these people when I was in the Legion. They would go to an event strictly because they wanted to disrupt somebody else's good time, and I'm like, it's not we're in for this. We're not in this group or in this hobby to disrupt other people. Let them do their thing. We go do our thing, and don't cross the paths, don't cross the streams, whatever you want to call it. Let everybody have their own. I don't live for vengeance. I don't live to poke the bear. I've been the bear. I don't like being poked, and they sure didn't like the response that a poked bear gave. So I look at it like that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people would say that I'm the one poking the bear, but all my life I've been a provocateur, so it's just kind of second nature to me. But
I'll speak my mind. Somebody says something, and it's like, well, that deserves a sarcastic response. They get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I try never to show up and try and humiliate someone. That's the last thing I'd ever want to do, is humiliate someone intentionally, just because they're present.
Yeah. Well, and we could talk about this all day. One of the things that I get criticized for the most is, I do what I do, the cosplay that we're doing now with the League of Impossibilists, it's all my original characters, for the most part, or characters that I helped other people create that I'm using in stories that I'm writing in my book series. And so our cosplay is a way to promote that overall project. It's a very expansive, multi-platform, multi-dimensional project. And a lot of cons bring me in, and I have to ask, they ask me to come MC their cosplay contests or do programming or entertainment. And it's very few conventions do I attend as just a guest. And I get a lot of heat for that because for me, it's about fun, but I have to look through everything through the eyes of, okay, how does this benefit me financially?
Exactly.
I get a lot of heat about that. I had one former friend sit down and say, listen, John, when you say it's all about the money, we just can't justify that. And because it's not about the money for us. I'm like, well, that's fine. But I've got a family to feed. I've got a mortgage to meet. I've got product I got to sell. I got a brand that I got to promote. And, my ulterior motive for being at a convention is, how is this going to benefit me? Maybe not immediately, but in the long run, financially. And a lot of people have a little big problem about that. Now, we could talk about this all day. We've already gone over an hour. So what I really want to do, though, is I want to come back and for those people who are just tuning in or they're watching at the tail end, the real purpose we had Jeff on was not to necessarily talk about this, but I thought it was good to get some perspective on fandoms. And you said before we went online that this happens everywhere. It's not just
Nashville. It's every group. Any group that I've ever been either associated with or group that I know of. I'll just real quick, the Orville group that we put together for Dragon Con. Now, this is like a one-shot deal that a group of us got together. We got the costumes. We made them screen accurate, and we all thought we looked really good. And I'll have to say that we were pretty dead on, because we were working with a girl who actually works on the props for the TV show, who was feeding us files to get 3D printed. The guy who had organized the group photo, I'm standing on the end at the meeting point, and the guy walks up to me and he goes, "Wow, that badge looks a little big, doesn't it? It's kind of huge." And And I just kind of look at him. I'm like, well, we kind of got the 3D print pattern from a girl that works on the Orville. He goes, really? You really did? Just real sarcastically. And I'm looking at a guy that, again, not to put him down, but he had the one that came with the Halloween costume he was wearing. And yeah, I looked at him and I said, hey man, yours has got some interesting colors. What's up with that? And he goes, well, I had mine custom done to a custom color code that would make mine an individual. I'm like, I know who you are. I knew immediately which personality trait he fell into. He's that guy that had to be the one-off. He had to be the one that was different from everybody, so he would be recognizable, so that people would approach him and ask, who are you supposed to be? What costume is this? Everybody else had one that reflected a character or just a random crew member on the show. So with just even a one-off costume for Dragon Con, and we had that one guy immediately show up that was ready to trash the whole group of, say, 14, 15 people because they did not stay with the standard costume that or specs that he had gone with. We had actually gone that extra mile. So it's there's one in every group, at least one that you have that's just going to tear you apart or show that trait that they have to be above everybody else. And like I said, I try never to be that guy. Now don't get me wrong. I call a spade a spade. If it same way, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And I'll tell you, wow, man, you got yourself a duck right there. And some people will say, oh no, it's a swan. It's like, no, that's a duck. And so you have to tell those people, I'm sorry, but you, sir, are owner of a duck. And but that's not to be mean. That's if somebody walks up and says, do you like my lovely swan? And I'll go, no, you have a duck. So I'm not being mean, I'm being honest. And I think that was one of the honesty in the costume group from one costumer or cosplayer to another. Sometimes can be the meanest thing that you can be is honest.
Yeah.
That what they want to hear is when the worst thing you can say from one cosplayer to another when they ask an opinion is fine. You look fine. That's the bottom line. That's the what they really want to hear.
Yeah, that all gets into the ego, and we could talk about this all day long, and I would love to, but I've got a voiceover that I got to get to, and so before we leave, I want you to just real quick recap again where we are with the fundraiser and how people can help. I've posted the link.
Thank you. We can. I have the fundraiser. I'm hosting it through my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/JeffLester1. Katie is my daughter. She's 19 years old. She has insurance, but we have spotted the wolf off in the distance, and so I am asking for help. We have a fundraiser, like I said, on that page. If anyone would like to donate, I also have another 200 of the Fight Lymphoma Ghostbuster patches that are coming in. Should be late next week. I will send you a link or a notification on that, John. And I just appreciate anyone who can help her out. She is a very artistic young lady. She is a cosplayer. She has attended, believe it or not, she's been in costume since she was 4 years old. I have been putting things on her and using her as my not only my model but as my sidekick. She is my little girl first and foremost, but she's also my fellow cosplayer that I respect highly, and I want her back in this game. And so to recap where she is on her treatments, she has finished 4 chemotherapy treatments. These are so strong that she can only go every 21 days to get this cocktail done. She's in for 2 more in late this month. In fact, next Thursday, and then 21 days from there. So that'll be in May. We hope that by the end of summer that this is done and gone. I pray for a Christmas where I have a little girl with a head full of hair and no cancer.
That's fantastic. And you can see the link right down below, facebook.com/JeffLester1. Go there. You can click that link right now and go to his page, and you can see the fundraiser. It's at the top of his page, and see where they are, and you can contribute right there. And we really, really want to help this family out. Jeff is a great guy. Katie is a fantastic young lady. I've only met her once, and she was having a ball
yeah, she loves this.
So we definitely want to support them, and anything that we can do for you, Jeff, you let us know. As I told you before, my day job is in the health insurance industry. I'm a broker agent, and I work with some superstar entertainment and music clients. And so what you're going through with getting things covered and paid, I deal with every day. So if you need some guidance, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call.
I may chew on your ear a little bit then.
All right. Very good. Well, guys and gals, that is it for our Impossible simulcast. I appreciate you guys joining, and continue to post comments, ask questions. We're going to share this out, and we'll answer questions even offline, and be glad to do that. Make sure you contact Jeff if you have any questions about the patches. Contribute to the fundraiser, and with that, Jeff, we will say thank you for joining us. This has been a fascinating discussion.
John, thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me reach out a little farther with this fundraiser and to help Katie out. Yeah, I do appreciate it.
Glad to do it. All right, guys and gals, that is it. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, we'll catch you on the flip side, and you're welcome. And we are out.